You know, it never gets old, Tews.
It's been old this whole time, Shaun. I mean, I feel like the people are tuning in to hear us speak. We should be able to speak.
Not over the song. I haven't had
honestly,
a single text saying
it's such a
I haven't had a
liberal
single
thing for you to do.
Haven't had a single
just
text.
Limit
Not a single text.
Limit free speech.
Not even somebody on Facebook going, "Hey, I'd love to hear Tews talk over the song." Not a single person. They might.
I think we'll hear enough from Tews on a regular basis. Seriously.
There we go. As you can hear, folks, we are joined by my brother Dustin Newman this week. It is Mashup 45, first one of March, which means Tews, new sponsor. And the first Mashup of March is brought to you by Vance Crowe. Big Vance out of St. Louis and his legacy interviews. So here, Vance, I'm going to try and rattle off my best Vance Crowe impersonation, which is going to be horrific, but a professionally recorded video conversation. This is what they're offering to all you fine people tuning in here, between an individual and Vance, aimed at capturing the essence of your life stories, memories, insights, and valuable life lessons. The goal is to preserve the individual's wisdom for future generations in the form of a timeless video and optional leather-bound book. I feel like actually it says autobiography, but isn't that a line from Anchorman?
Yeah, I have many leather-bound books.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. So for any of the Tuesday Mashup, listeners, what he's offering is an online legacy interview. Obviously, you can do it virtually. An in-depth interview with conversation guide Vance Crowe, covering 5 areas of your life: childhood, career, marriage, parenting, and the wisdom of living. Receive your video digitally to share, and we will ship you a special DVD that will be playable for, hundreds of years, most likely, hopefully longer, and record your interview from the comfort of your home. All you need is computer and internet connection, and this is a special offer for listeners of the Tuesday Mashup. Book today and make sure you have at least 2 full hours to record uninterrupted before April 30th, 2023. I think he means before April 30th, 2023 book. That's what the offer is good for. And then there's a second offer in there with the leather-bound book. It's all in the show notes. Click on the show notes and you get the point.
Here's the thing. What's your take on Vance?
My take on Vance?
Yep.
Oh, I like Vance.
I like Vance too.
I think listeners by now know.
The most impressive thing about Vance Crowe is when he was in Lloydminster, he came and watched noon hour hockey. Stand up, dude.
It's true. He did.
He's one of those guys. I'm starting to get to know him a little bit now. I'm in his book club, and
you don't know how to read.
What's that?
You don't know how to read. Come on, you're listening. You're listening to all
audio books. Oh yeah, for sure.
There we go.
Yeah, I drive a lot. Right. So anyway, the thing about Vance is that he's a guy that you could trust. He's a guy you want to talk to. You just feel like you can just open up to him. Don't let the fact that he's American sway you. There's some pretty good folks down there. And honestly, he's just one of the most genuine people that I've met in a long time. And I can't think of a better guy that you would want to do this with.
So Vance Crowe, something about him is, the more you talk to him, the more you get to know him, the more he grows on you. He's the complete opposite of Tews.
Can we put him? Can we mute him?
You know what the best is? I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna let you two duke it out. It's gonna be great. One-liner after one-liner. Either way, Vance Crowe, shout out to him, because as soon as it came open that hey, Tuesday Mashup's gonna be open for people to sponsor month by month. Vance Crowe said,
jumped right on.
jumped right on, and then Shaun talked him out of a month, folks. I was like, oh, let's just try for a couple of weeks. Oh yeah, okay, sure, yeah. And so he's this week, and he's the last week of March.
Worst
yeah, I know.
Salesman ever.
That's exactly what Baz Crow said. You're the worst salesman ever. And I'm like, well, I'm just, anyways, doesn't matter. Vance, we hope you did your anyways. There's 3 weeks left in the month or the year of 2023, just an FYI. So if Vance is looking to get a few more in, hey, just saying there's 3 left. That's 3 weeks in July. The 2 in September got picked up right before I walked in here. So we got 3 weeks left. So if you're looking to get in partnership with the with the Tuesday mashup, hit me up in the text line. And finally, hey, Twos, what are you doing March 18th? Hey, Dust, what are you doing March 18th?
I don't know. What's going on March 18th?
Dust is probably just going to be scratching his butt or something.
Kid Carson, Wayne Peters, Chris Sims, and Byron Christopher in Edmonton, March 18th.
This is why you didn't want to sell the spots. So you can take them yourself.
Either way, Twos is going to be in attendance. I think Dust is going to be in attendance. This lady, Tamara Leach, is going to be in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a whole bunch of other. This guy named Marty up north, for all you folks on Twitter, and certainly people who enjoy the podcast, is going to be in attendance. Nadine Ness, who's
is she going to be there?
She's coming. And I was thinking, she's had some amazing Twitter spaces. Anyways, that's just
yeah.
There's
I don't know. Are we going to talk about some of the other names that are going to be just hanging out there in the next few weeks or not? We got to figure that out. But there's going to be a lot of very interesting people there.
Yeah. And anyways, that's a side note. Okay. So what I did this week is instead of giving us a time limit, I always pull out some BS number like, hey, we're going to be 22 minutes and we always go over by 15. I thought I'm just going to start the timer when we start and see how much we go over. We should be 28 minutes.
Okay.
With you two, I highly doubt that's going to be what it is, but whatever. Let's see. Oh, and I should say, before we start, I guess, Dustin is on here for a reason. Do you want to talk about Clunker Dunker? Do we want to do it at the end, the beginning?
Oh, yeah, I guess we should probably talk about that.
Do you want me to start with Clunker Dunker or what we're trying to build?
I would start, how about just elevator pitch on what you're trying to build and then talk about the Clunker Dunker.
Sure. So Kitcoty is a little community outside of Lloydminster, and we're building a multi-use facility for the community. It'll be a new curling rink combined with a concession for the minor ball diamonds, a clubhouse for the golf course, and there'll be some stalls and wash racks for 4-H, all combined into one building at the Kitcoty Regional Park. So it's a $2 million project that we've designed and just starting to fundraise for. So that's what we're raising money for. And the current fundraiser we got on the go is the Clunker Dunker. We have a delivery van parked on a slough on the edge of Kitcoty, and we're taking guesses on when the van will fall through the slough in the spring. So go to klunkerdunker.com to put your guesses in. But I have
we'll put that in the show notes as well. So in the show notes, we'll have Clunker Dunker. That way people can just scroll down, click on it. And you don't, just so I'm clear, you don't have to be from Lloydminster or Kitcoty to play in this. You can be anywhere in Canada and win money, yes?
You could be from Lee Park. You could be from Blackfoot. Yes. Or you could be from Gatineau.
You can be from wherever.
I tell you what, if some person wins this from Quebec and they haven't reached out saying they're listening to us, I'm going to be pissed. Anyways, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Side
so I've also roped in Shaun and Twos. We have a polar plunge as kind of an extra incentive to buy tickets for the Clunker Dunker. I'm a part of that as well. So we've set dollar limits to hit as part of fundraising targets. I'm going in the icy water, the icy slough water, I should say, at $2,500 raised. Shaun and Twos are going in at $5,000. So once we hit the $5,000 target, if we do it before March 25th, they will be going in the icy slough water to show.
So I've been saying to Dust Twos that he needs to get a beautiful woman, that will, and set her like at $50,000, set her whatever the number is, right? And we've been kind of like musing, like, well, who would that be? I have the perfect suggestion, but everybody will pay not to see them go in the water. Kayla Lemieux, wouldn't that be something? She wouldn't be able to fit in the hole, and she'd just buoy up. Anybody know who I'm talking about?
Is that Mario's daughter?
Kayla Lemieux is the shop teacher from Toronto.
Oh,
biggest
could you
guy.
imagine how big of a hole you'd need?
What I really want to know from the listeners of the mashup is how many people will pay to get twos in the water and then hold his head under.
Well, you can hit me up, show notes, or you can hit
Yep.
comments up on Facebook or Twitter right now. I mean, we are live, so
Well, shrinkage is already a big deal for twos. I don't know how well that's going to go over.
Okay, so klunkerdunker in the show notes. Vance Crowe Legacy interview in the show notes.
Let's get going.
Let's get going here, and here's the fun twist this week. We've been getting a ton of feedback on the buzzer and how people say it's loud, this, that, everything else. So we have a different sound for every bloody. We're going to see how this goes this week, okay? And for what I want from the listeners is, which one do you like the best? That's what I want to know out of all this. Sean's got his pick already. He's been playing it for twos like 18 times, and probably annoying the hell out of him. So we'll see what all of you come up with.
That is what Sean does. It's what most Newmans do, actually.
So he gets
But yeah, I think we're gonna keep it going for a couple weeks, probably, just to make sure people can get a feel for it.
That's right. So let's start here. Correction from last week. This is number one. The clock has been started. Let's see how much we go over 28 minutes, folks. And we'll start twos. What are we correcting from last week? I'm sure there is not only one thing, but anyways.
Last week, I was talking about how the government passed Bill C-18 to make places like Google and Facebook pay news agencies every time somebody clicks on them. And I said it's essentially a tax. And when you tax something, you see less of it. Now, the carbon tax, as was pointed out to me by an illustrious economist on Twitter, what about that? Well, I just, you try to keep things moving in the mashup, but basically when you tax something with an elastic demand, you see less of it. When something's inelastic, like heating your house so that the water pipes don't break, that doesn't really matter, and you still get roughly the same consumption regardless. So just to be clear, I just brushed over it real quick, but I should have said when you tax something with elastic demand, you see less of it. And so I'm sorry. And, if you're some fancy economist out in Tufnell, Saskatchewan, I hope this makes you fucking happy.
And there's the one buzzer we're going to use for the week. Oh man, I'm rather excited about the rest of it. I can't believe somebody called twos and got him to correct himself. Like that's a win. Here we go. Canadian spy agency wiretapping glaciers. Canada's spy service warns that climate change poses a profound ongoing threat to national security and prosperity, including the possible loss of parts of British Columbia and the Atlantic provinces to rising sea levels. A newly released...
I can't believe they said that like it was a bad thing.
A newly released analysis by the Canadian Security Intelligence Service also foresees an increase in ideologically motivated violent extremism from people who want to speed up climate change solutions and those more interested in preserving their current way of life. Put simply, climate change compounds all other known human security issues and serves as an accelerant towards negative security outcomes. No country will be immune from climate change or associated risks.
Also causes heart attacks.
Yep. Which in turn decreases the amount of extremism.
It's true.
Yep. I just find the whole thing funny because their mandate is to... Why would you have an operational entity like CSIS worry about things that, regardless of your thoughts on it, they're not going to change it. They're not going to affect it. They wiretap, they monitor, they look for threats that they can actually do something about. And CSIS, I mean, what are they going to do? It's not... I get that glaciers don't have diplomatic immunity, but their hands are kind of tied in terms of using spycraft to solve climate change.
What don't you understand about the role of government here?
Any of it?
Well, when's the last time government actually made progress towards something that was meaningful?
That's very true. But this is the most irrelevant packet of people in government with regards to climate change, and they are using them to talk about climate change. This is picking the worst tool in your toolbox to do whatever it is that you're going to be trying to do.
Yeah, but I feel like somewhere they were sitting there like, you know what? How do we get people on board with climate change? I tell you what would be really cool. CSIS. I bet you CSIS, if they did a report, people would really start to pay attention. That's that is the most imminent threat to Canadians is climate change. And it comes from our government agency.
If we get some crazy westerly wind from Siberia coming in, is that foreign interference? Do we go to them and try and sanction Russia because they're hitting us with their cold weather on top of ours? Like there's no logical fit.
Well, we are supplying weapons to our Ukraine, so I guess we kind of are doing that.
I find it baffling. Anyways,
I tell you what. Here's there it is. There it is. I apologize, folks. I'm gonna play it like 6 times just so everybody gets a feel for it. Next, all right. This is gonna be the issue with new sounds. Is I was prepared for the buzzer because people have been telling me to lower the buzzer. Now I got new sounds and they're all over the map. Anyways, here we go. Bureaucracy kills justice. Your Honor? ? That's my son's life. That's what my son's life is worth. A signature. The guy gets away with killing my son for a signature. Really, that's what an Ontario court heard last month from a father of an 18-year-old Milo Yakimalian when the case against a Toronto driver charged in his son's death was thrown out over a clerical error. Cop never signed the form, and they let the guy walk.
Dust.
So, paperwork issue led to a guy getting off. You know, it serves well when you've got a parking ticket or a DUI, but it's a little extreme.
Oh, it's funny. Actually, I had a parking ticket way back in the day where it wasn't my car, but they got the make of the car right. They didn't get the model. They didn't get the color. They just accidentally wrote down my license plate, and then the make of the car was right. And it just so happened that I had it parked in an underground or like a parking facility overnight that night. So I had a receipt saying that I wasn't there. And I went to I fought this, and it was this huge thing. And I had all this paperwork backing it up. I'm like, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. It had more spelling mistakes in it than something with lots of spelling mistakes that I didn't really think about ahead of time to have something funny. And it was just laughably wrong all over the place. And the judge was willing to throw it out because they're like, oh, you get lots of parking tickets. I'm like, yeah. I said, oh, you never fought any of them before? Nope. That's because they were all, as much as I hate to say it, justified. And this one was not. And the judge said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt this time. It wasn't the mountain of clerical errors. It was just the fact that, okay, well, I'll be nice.
I do got one parking. Oh, go ahead. You done?
And oh yeah. And then this one time you're like, okay, well, this is somebody who killed someone, but the paperwork wasn't exactly right. They didn't fill out form 32B-7 in triplicate. So tough titties. This is Canada.
I do got one parking story that's worthwhile. Is I borrowed my parents' vehicle when I was around 20. Went to Saskatoon to visit my buddy Justin Tobin. Shout out to Justin Tobin. He took my parents' vehicle. I loaned it to him, so he had to go somewhere. He got a parking ticket with it, and then didn't give me the parking ticket afterwards. I took the vehicle back to my parents, not knowing, and then my parents got a late parking ticket notice in the mail because my buddy didn't give me the parking ticket he got from my
parking titty.
Vehicle.
Parking titty.
Yeah,
that might be the best.
Just the worst.
Yep. That's the punchline of the story.
You know, the big guy that we talked about going in the water with it's stuck.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. These new sounds twos. Here I was all excited, and they're all over the map. Bureaucracy gives loophole to liberal cheerleading organization. Canada Border Service Agency says it has seized over 1,350 prohibited weapons and firearms linked to homes in Chilliwack, BC. But hold on here. The list of weapons includes 13 conducted energy weapons, better known as tasers, 360 stun guns, 171 stun batons, and hundreds of prohibited knives and brass knuckles. So did I get that correct? Canada Border Service Agency says it has seized over 1,350 prohibited weapons and firearms. I didn't hear a firearm in there.
Well, technically, those 13 tasers are classified as firearms under federal legislation. And so because of that, they could give this incredibly misleading title and lead up into this article where we've been talking about for months about how ineffectual our border control is in terms of keeping illegal handguns out of gangs. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you know what? We're doing all this stuff that's stopping firearms. There was 13 tasers in there, no actual guns. But hey, it gets you off the hook to just kind of get the liberals off the hook.
Brass knuckles are illegal?
Yeah, dude.
Oh. I didn't realize.
I labeled this one Quickie Mart. I think I'm more entertained by the sounds I've. Anyways, what the hell? You know, what are you gonna do, boys? PM weighs the idea of creating systemic tokenism in the RCMP. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says appointing an Indigenous person as the next. Well, side note here, we've been talking about Commissioner Lucky for how long? Is it been a year? Has it got to be close to a year too?
It's probably, well, yeah. I mean, we've been doing this for almost a year. So
almost a year. Anyways, it's almost been a year of following Lucky around. Either way, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says appointing an Indigenous person as the next RCMP commissioner is an excellent idea, but he's looking to appoint the right leader regardless of their background. During a news conference Friday, Trudeau was asked to respond to calls for Ottawa to hire an Indigenous commissioner for the first time ever. Proponents of the idea see it as a way to heal the sometimes fraught relationship between the National Police Force and Indigenous communities. I think it's an excellent idea. We should absolutely look at more diversity. We should absolutely look at bringing forward Indigenous voices to lead those institutions, he said. We're going to commit to a proper, robust process that will find the best possible person to deal with a range of concerns that Canadians are facing, but of course, making sure that reconciliation is at the heart of what we do to improve the RCMP moving forward. It's going to be a significant factor we take into account, he said.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Dust.
I was just going to say, isn't this entire government systemic tokenism? Isn't it everything they do essentially that?
But I mean, they're just kind of getting the RCMP into it in the last little bit, and so they're a little bit late to the party. I just think, well, first off, it's incredibly funny that they had an absolute disaster with the last token hire they had as commissioner of the RCMP, and that's why she's leaving in disgrace. And it's funny because at the bottom of the article, it talks about how poor of a job she did because she didn't really address systemic racism, not because of the Nova Scotia shooting in Danforth, not because of the Freedom Convoy, not because of anything else, but just because she did a bad job of addressing systemic racism. This is the kind of bullshit that the CBC loves to just conveniently omit, just like what we just talked about with them. Okay,
I think that's a sexist comment.
Well, I think it's pretty fair to say that she did not get the job for being the best person for it. Because if she did, God fucking help us.
That's also misogynist.
Okay, I am not massaging anything, Dust. Okay? I also think it's funny that he said he wants to appoint the right leader regardless of their background, which is totally the exact opposite of what he said when it was because it's 2015.
Is that a bing?
That's a ding. That's a ding with a D.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. It's not a bing. That's racist.
We like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind. It's more inclusive.
There we go. Exactly. Yes, thank you.
And the budget will balance itself.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
No offense.
That clip is so perfect. Like just how, even at the end of it, it follows up with a do. Like it's so well put together.
You are one pathetic loser. And speaking of that, this week, okay, Twos lays on me, folks, with like 18 articles about this one spot. So here we go.
Kept
okay?
on like this is a big story this week.
Fair.
And there's lots to it.
Fair. True. And I talked to Tom Korski, which comes out on Wednesday, about the exact, about this whole China debacle. Anyways, here we go. Here's a Rebel News. Here's a Rebel News article. Okay, it says the CSIS leaker claims we're talking about China collusion right now on elections. The CSIS leaker claims Prime Minister Justin Trudeau intervened to stop the party from axing Dong's nomination. Dong is one of the 11 liberals that CSIS claims benefited from Chinese interference. Trudeau has dismissed as racist claims that Dong is CCP influenced. Dong skipped a liberal, and then it went on to say Dong skipped a liberal sponsored vote to condemn China's genocide against Turkish. Why does it
Just
say
go
that?
with the Uyghurs.
The Uyghurs. Anyways. And then the CBC article, I got to read all this stuff. You guys get to sit there.
No,
Anyways.
you don't have to read all of it. It's all for background, so we can just talk about it.
You know what, though? If you haven't read this is why you give them a little bit of, you got to give them a little bit there, too. Otherwise, they're like, what the hell are these two yelling at each other for?
Okay.
Anyways, when asked, here's CBC. When asked why he won't call an inquiry now, because now we're talking, they've been calling for him to have an inquiry into the Chinese. Trudeau said senior public servants working on the critical elections incident public protocol, holy God, another government agency, already have reviewed the 2019-2021 campaigns and concluded while there was some Chinese interference, those actions did not compromise the final outcomes. Anyways, conservative leader, we're talking Morris Rosenberg released his review of the 2021 campaign earlier this week. He found the government of Canada did not detect foreign interference that threatened Canada's ability to hold free and fair elections in 2019-2021. He offered a series of recommendations. And then Pierre came out, conservative leader. He said, Rosenberg report isn't credible because Rosenberg previously held a role with Trudeau Foundation, a nonprofit named for the Prime Minister's father. That foundation also received $200,000 donation from an individual with ties to the Chinese government, and money that was returned this week.
That's the CBC article.
That's the
and
CBC
it's funny
article.
that they said Rosenberg was formerly tied with the Trudeau Foundation.
I thought that too.
He was the former CEO. That's like saying Stephen Harper used to dabble in politics.
Here's the Montreal
here.
Here's the Montreal Journal. Okay, here's the final article. In 2016, in just 2 days, the Prime Minister's riding received $70,000 donors of a Chinese origin. At the same time, the government authorized the establishment of the Chinese bank in Canada, denouncing the leader of Bloc, that was Blanchette. At the time of the influx of money in Papineau, July 7th, the Superintendent of Financial Institutions of Canada gave the right to the Chinese bank, Wealth One, to operate in the country. And shortly before the bank received this precious start, its founder, Shanglin Zian, took part in a liberal fundraiser evening at a $1,500 cover just to get in, organized by a Chinese billionaire in Toronto. Justin Trudeau was the guest of honor. Since then, of course, CSIS has been on the heels of Wealth One. The bank has been under investigation since 2021. It's a whole soup of
70% of the Papineau riding, which is in Quebec, that's Trudeau's riding, 70% of their donations for the year came over a span of 2 days from people with Chinese names in Vancouver. Tell me that doesn't stink a little bit.
You guys are missing what's important here, though. We really need to find whoever leaked this. That is the biggest security concern for sure.
It's not an exaggeration. The RCMP are investigating who leaked this. Here's the thing. When you've got duplicitous governments that are doing this shit, you want whistleblowers. You want someone to say, hey, you know what? My boss is up to some shady fucking crockery. You guys ought to know about this. That's what you want in a public servant. You want people who are going to speak truth to power, not people who are going to be like, well, you know what? If you give me enough yen, it's going to be fine.
You know what's funny about whistleblowers is that whistleblowers, for the most part, don't actually want to whistleblow. It has to get so bad where they're like, oh, fuck.
I can't
say
not
something.
say something, right? Yeah, they're trying to just Snowden the guy. And the thing, like, just the whole concept of just like, well, you know what? There was a little bit of Chinese interference, but it wasn't a major amount. Like, it doesn't even matter. And furthermore, it's just like their food. An hour later, you're hungry again for more of it. They're not going to stop.
Well, I'm laughing because I look at one of the first lines I read, and it said, like this government agency, critical elections incident public protocol. Only they could think of that 5-letter or 5-word. Anyways, already has reviewed both elections, and concluded that while there was some interference, Those actions did not compromise the final outcomes. What a bunch of hogwash that is, folks. Like,
Even if
holy
it's true,
shit.
like, I mean, I only killed the guy a little bit.
Right? Oh.
Yeah. It was just, it's just like in Arrested Development where he's like, well, I might have been involved with some mild treason.
She's only a little bit pregnant.
Give it time. Congratulations.
Give it time.
What do we call this one?
I missed the
Well,
buzzer.
that's a ratchet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you keep
I love
repeating them, it loses its efficacy.
Does it?
Yeah.
It's a
it-
vaccine. It's a booster. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, that's we need to ratchet that up.
Oh man. Okay.
Let's wind this up, baby.
The CRA becoming increasingly sidelined. Canadians are increasingly taking on jobs in the gig economy as the rising cost of living puts pressure on their finances. But many of them are tempted to not declare all the extra income they're earning, according to a new survey by H&R Block. The taxpayer found that 28% of the 1,500 adults surveyed had taken jobs in the gig economy to boost their income, up from 13% a year ago. But 49% of those who are currently have a side hustle indicated they'd be willing to risk not declaring all their related income, and a further 44% said they would be willing to risk not declaring any of it. Before any of you hop in on this,
This should have been the good news of the week.
Who the hell is taking a survey saying I'm not going to declare? They can't. Like, why would you do that?
I just want to know is Twos declaring as gigolo earnings or not?
Dude, the amount of money I make being the sexiest man on earth, I could not declare it.
So that $5 you're declaring, is that what you're saying?
Hey, man, it may be $5 a pop, but I get in a lot of reps.
Very quick reps.
You know,
I just think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. The more people can just ignore the government, the better, especially when it takes money out of their pocket.
I agree. Just don't talk about it in a fucking survey. I'm going back to the buzzer rate now because I just like I can't even hear half the dings. And this just shocks me that they would declare in a fucking survey. Who's doing that?
It's a survey to H&R Block. Like if it was somebody like Angus
Who's
Reid,
doing that? You telling your tax? Oh, by the way, I made an extra $100,000 and I'm not going to declare it. Why would you tell your accountant that?
There's two people you want in your life who are quasi criminals, and that's if you ever need a lawyer and your accountant. And H&R Block is accountants, and so you're going to go to them and be like, "Look, what's the most we can risk without reasonably looking at jail time?" Because that's how you should start every conversation with your accountant. I am not a tax professional. Do not quote me on this. I never said it. Dustin said it.
Yeah,
and the lawyer comes after that. How do I stay out of jail if they ever bust you?
And as long as your cost of the accountant plus the cost of your lawyer is less than or equal to the amount that you saved by fudging your tax dollars, you come out ahead.
On a side note, Zane seems to think you're on the ball tonight, Twos. I'm just, I don't know. Hey,
because I'm saying we should screw over the government.
No, Zane is just one of Twos' clients.
Shocker. Pronouns on resumes increasingly seen as red flags. Inclusivity shouldn't just be present in the workplace. It should be practiced during the hiring process as well. But unfortunately, non-binary job seekers are facing clear biases during their job search. According to a new report from business.com, a business resource platform, over 80% of non-binary people believe that identifying as non-binary would hurt their job search. Similarly, 51% believe their gender identity has affected their workplace experience very or somewhat negatively. Ryan McGonigal, director of industry research at business.com and author of the report, says these statistics show just how much work there is to do around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in the workplace.
The die triad. Okay, honestly, this makes every bit of sense. Why would it not? What do you put on your resume? You put on what you can bring to the company. You say, hire me because when you hire me, you get this, 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 and this. And ideally, you want to show them I can do this and I can bring this and whatever else. But if you're just going to say, I'm going to bring in a bunch of unnecessary drama, they're going to say, well, maybe you might want to go work at our competitor.
All I can think of is these people wouldn't be a good fit for AMC Electrical. That's all I can think of. Just saying.
They should really talk to Vance Crowe.
I'm sure the interview would be funny. Could you imagine?
So the funny thing about this is it probably depends on who they're applying to, because I think with universities and government jobs, it actually puts them at the front of the line. Whereas anybody who works in the private sector, not so much.
Actually, you know what? That's a really good point. But I will say, to kind of just bring the two of our points together, is that when you have these bullshit jobs, typically your job is to bring a lot of unnecessary bullshit into it. And so they'd look and say, okay, well, you know what? Unnecessary drama about gender relations? Well, that's perfect. That means we'll have to hire another person in HR just to manage it. Come on board.
I don't mind
that was an odd choice for that one. Okay, they're just sound effects, people. They're just sound effects.
It's always the last ones you think. The Ottawa Police Service West Criminal Investigation Unit is asking for the public's assistance in locating a 32-year-old Anthony Parker. Parker was released from custody on November 17th for charges of assault, harassment, and intimidation. He breached his release conditions yesterday and is currently at large. Is this not the same guy again? Or is
this is a different guy? The last guy last week had fire tattooed all over his face.
Right.
This guy has a bunch of squiggles tattooed all over his face. You can bring up the picture. And he has HIV positive tattooed across his forehead. And in the article, it says, if you see Parker, do not approach, call 911. I'm just going to go ahead and say that if you see somebody with HIV positive tattooed on their head, you probably shouldn't approach, regardless of whether you think they're a criminal or not. That's the kind of person you maybe want to give a little bit of breathing room to. That's where your 6 feet of separation comes in, and maybe even wearing a mask.
And I got to apologize here. I can't bring up the picture. It doesn't want to give me the picture, so I apologize.
That's because it's too ugly.
I just chuckled because when I looked at that, I went and looked at it. I'm like, this is the same. Didn't we just read the same thing last week? I didn't realize
last week it was an arsonist with fire all over his face.
He looked like the dude from Suicide Squad. Yeah.
This one's assault, harassment, and intimidation, which, I mean, if you've got HIV positive tattooed on your literal forehead, you're probably intimidating already.
I think HIV tattooed on the forehead or wearing a 222 hat. Either way.
Yeah, let's keep using the gun cocks whenever Dust talks.
I was going to say, I think Tooz is dead over there after that one.
I wasn't expecting it. You totally just blindsided me.
Farming hate. Farming hate clicks doesn't create ad revenue. No. What am I looking at here, folks?
Well, this is Rachel Gilmore.
This is Rachel Gilmore, isn't it? Yeah. The news
she got let go from Global.
The news of layoffs and restructuring at Global News this week chips away at an already bare bones newsroom and puts democracy at risk as the number of media workers dwindles in the industry, says Unifor. Of course, as we all know from Two's lovely dealings with Rachel Gilmore, she was one of the layoffs and has been under constant harassment for people basically applauding the move of laying off her, her being one of them.
And guys, we don't really need to get too deep into this, but I just want to say that former journalist Rachel Gilmore is going through a lot right now, and that we should probably not be too mean to former journalist Rachel Gilmore. And also, she put her email address up and posted it publicly, not so that she can get job offers, because she's not going to get them because she sucks. She's had like 50 different jobs ranging from several weeks to a few months. And she's not very old. And so, I mean, this is probably the end of her public spectacle, although she'll probably go out in some kind of a fizzle. But she put her email address up in hopes that people were going to email former journalist Rachel Notley and say a bunch of stupid shit that she can just try and farm some hate clicks out of and desperately grasp at relevancy. So don't give former journalist Rachel Gilmore the opportunity.
I just want to know how exactly democracy is going to survive this. I'm concerned. And you were talking about her public spectacle almost being up, but I'm pretty sure there's an OnlyFans page in the very near future for her. And I think
what did I just say? What did I just say? It's the obvious joke. You're better than this, Dust.
It's been a long day, too.
Man.
And you kind of drone on sometimes, and yeah.
Okay, but that's enough about former journalist Rachel Gilmore.
Okay, we've had enough fun at we've had enough. Oh man, and Shaun's having just an interesting time on this side, folks. You know, Greta Thunberg arrested. Nobody can see what's going on. Nobody cares. Shaun's having fun, regardless. Greta Thunberg arrested protesting wind farms. Yes, you heard that right. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg was arrested Wednesday with dozens of other activists during a protest in front of several Norwegian government ministry buildings demanding that the government shut down a wind farm. The government granted a permit for the huge wind project in the central region of the country to move forward in 2010, despite 2 of the 6 wind farms locations being located on land where the indigenous, I hope I'm saying this right, Sami people herd reindeer in the winter. The Sami contested the project.
Reindeer is the correct word, yes.
The Sami contested the project, alleging that the farm would impede their herding practices and violate their rights under international law. But the government went ahead and let the farm be built anyway. It started operating in 2019. The protest where Thunberg was arrested was organized by indigenous activists and environmental groups who were demanding that the government shut down the wind farm. And simultaneous protests were going outside of the country's energy ministry as well at the site. The group was also protesting outside the ministry Monday and Tuesday. So there you go. They want it taken away because we're getting into this la la land of just like it hurts my brain that this is a story.
I think this is wonderful. It's about damn time. Assuming, of course, that this isn't being co-opted, and people are just saying, oh, it's indigenous people when it's a bunch of, folks from Oregon that get bussed in to protest at, like a pipeline, for example, or something like that, right? Like if this is actually the people who live there saying, I didn't want you to build this on my fucking land, and you did anyway, you bunch of dick faces. Well, you know what? A man doesn't have much in this world. He's got his word, he's got his balls, and he's got the dirt he lives on. And they shouldn't be able to take any of those from him.
I think Greta Thunberg at this point is everything's bad all the time. So we really shouldn't do anything at any point.
Everything we do is bad. I mean, keep in mind that she just wrote a book about how bad climate change is. And when she finds out what books are made of, she is going to be so fucking pissed. Trees.
Is the world ending in 7 days? Yes, I've realized too. 7 days, 7 years. I just literally pulled up one of the I swear to God, it was an NDP video. Anyways, I flipped on to YouTube here before we were coming on. I can't remember why. And an ad popped up and it was talking about we have 7 years to end climate change. I'm going, okay, if we got 7
years ago.
Yeah, I know, right? The numbers always change. But now it's like, okay, but it's your land and the reindeer are there and it's indigenous and we can't put climate change stopping things there. We got to put it on this other guy's spot because it's just like we live in the land of stupidity. Let's just move on. Can we just move on?
Well, yeah. It's like when they tore down the forest to put up windmills. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Or when we put a whole bunch up in the Northwest Territories or whatever, right? And I mean, you kind of feel for these Norwegians. They're probably just like, oh, we need to have a reindeer going here. And they can't because of these goddamn wind farms.
You know, talking wind farms, how about climate change tangibly costs Canadians millions? This was two people we enjoy on this show. I think Twos, you got Quick Dick tweeting it. He says 1.8 million to travel to the UN conference on climate change, $1 million for hotel charges, 622,000 for airfares, and 27,000 on meals. And this was, I'm glad. And then he said, I'm glad Gilmore is saving the environment by flying 266 delegates to Egypt. Where Twos got those, where QDM got those numbers from, Blacklocks. And those are two.
Blacklocks.
We like those two coming together. And here you go. So we're here's another climate change. We're going to save the world, but we're also going to spend 1.8 million traveling to the other side of the world on the taxpayers' dollar.
It's not about saving the environment. It's about sexy parties with climate groupies in exotic locations and checking tourism locations off of your bucket list at the expense of taxpayers. That's what it is. Because if they actually gave a shit about this, it would be on Zoom. They would be doing it like we're doing it right now. But they don't because they don't give a shit.
You're selling me on a government job here. That sounds pretty good.
I know. The longer we go on this, we're like, why? We could take government subsidies and be getting like 20. Can you imagine the headline? This Tuesday mashup show is getting like 20 million. I don't know how they pulled it off. They come for us, quote, fuck off.
Yeah, we could just fly private jets back and forth every week so we could do this in person.
I'm laughing at all the quote. It's funny, folks. On this side, we're trying to appease all the listeners. So we bring in all these fancy sounds. We're thinking, hey, maybe we could try something. And I tell you what, I just keep coming to this. There's something about that.
Hey, get your thumb off the scale. This is just like what you did with the intro song. God,
what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Tiz. I think I'm just playing what you gave me.
Oh my God. What you're giving me is heartburn.
Shop teacher's career deflated. Oh man. Here's something for the klunkerdunker, okay? The Kayla Lemieux show canceled, no longer at Oakville School. A Canadian high school teacher has been put on leave after wearing prosthetic breasts in class. It was ironically a picture of an Oakville teacher reportedly dressed as a man, not the ones of the shop instructor clothed as a busty woman that led to the person's departure from the classroom. Then this article just, I couldn't figure out if this was like straight comedy or what this was.
So it's Joe Warmington, and he's kind of a funny dude, right? And you can tell that he's just threading a very, like, he's just putting fine feather strokes on it, right?
Well, here,
so
this is what Lemieux's quote. Okay, here's what the quote is. I can't tell you who that is. Talking about the picture they had of the man.
Okay, so just real quick, we talked about this last week. So this shop teacher with the giant tiggle bitties allegedly was photographed walking around outside looking like a dude. And so everybody was surprised because, hey, apparently those things come off. And the fallout for it now is that when the school board realized, maybe it's real, maybe it's Maybelline, but it looks like it's not real. You mean those aren't actual breasts? They said, well, this whole thing has just been a bunch of make-believe, and we can't have it, so we're going to place him on paid leave. Because classic government, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, this whole thing is he lost his job because the school board found out that the titties were removable. The giant Z cups that were just back problems in waiting apparently can come off, but he's saying, no, they're real. And they're saying, well, you can have your job back if you can get a doctor's note saying that they're actually there. And I don't know if he's just saying, like, well, why would I do that when you're paying me to be at home anyway, you dumb pieces of shit? Or if maybe, just maybe, those breasts are not authentic.
So this is how the article goes, okay? So this is what Lemieux is quoted as saying. I can't tell you who that is because I don't want to bring anyone else into this. She's talking about, or he's talking about, whatever, about the dude walking around away from school, not with prosthetic breasts on and everything. Anyways, Lemieux told the Post, I don't want that person being thrown all over the media, but it wasn't me. This is who I am. This is how I look. You've been talking to people in my building. Because last week, there was people in the building talking about how, Like, totally comes out as a man all the time, and it's not a big deal, right? She isn't always dressed like that. Anyways, this is how I look. You've been talking to the people in my building, but what they're telling you is harsh and untrue. I am always going out looking the way I am. When asked if her appearance ever differed from the way she looked at the time, Lemieux told the Post, "I guess if I took off my wig off or took my makeup off, but I would still have breasts. You can't hide them." The teacher claimed a rare condition called is a gigantomastia, and that double X
It's called
chromosomes
tigobidyism.
and hormone sensitivity to estrogen played a role in the intersex born person growing extra large breasts, and it just keeps going. It just keeps going.
So has anybody actually confirmed whether this guy is for real or whether he's doing this? I heard a story about him being pissed off that this whole woke thing, and so he was going to take it to an extreme to prove how ridiculous it is.
Okay,
have we figured that out
but
yet?
Is that really extreme?
Oh no!
I mean, his kids are in different time zones. Yeah, so no one's really gotten to the bottom of that yet. But there's been, I don't know, there's been like QAnon style message boards talking about this, and it's a fun idea, and it might make a little bit of sense because if you're going to have anybody as a male teacher do something like this, your shop teacher and your phys ed teacher are the last guys you'd expect. But I mean, sometimes it's the last people you'd expect.
I'm really hoping it's the case because it'd be the greatest thing ever.
Oh, absolutely. If he just fucked with everybody to get that. Yeah.
There'd be a statue of him at some point if it's true.
There'd be a what?
A statue with big giant tickle bitties?
Oh yeah, absolutely. At some point, if it comes out that he was putting this all on, oh yeah.
Are they just gonna have like brass pillars holding them up underneath? Like you couldn't make a statue like that.
We don't have anything strong enough to hold them up.
Proportional weight, it would fall off like the Sphinx's nose.
I can just see someone walking their dog and the dog pissing at the bottom of that statue. It'd be
no. Like those tickle bitties, they'd fall off like the dog's nose, and then it would be all flat chested, and they'd be like, "See, he really was a man." How many times am I going to say tickle bitties this episode?
Let's get to some happy news, shall we? Happy news. David Grohl, Foo Fighters, food fighter, I guess. Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl helped feed hundreds of homeless people during a 24-hour barbecue cooking session in Los Angeles. I don't know. It sounded like he was there for an extended period of time,
like
multiple days.
Extra late to get the smoker working exactly right, so that it was going to be not just here's your fucking food, homeless people, but I'm going to make this delicious. You're going to get the best of me, right?
I think
times like these that you really appreciate guys like that.
I think it's cool anytime. It's more than just, to me, it looked like more than, it sounded like just more than a photo op, right?
It wasn't. He didn't even announce himself or anything like that. There was just some people that recognized him, and he was happy to take pictures with them. I mean, like, he's kind of my hero right now at the moment. He's not, there's some other stuff we could talk about. But as far as this goes, I think it's absolutely wonderful when, people who have been successful enough that they don't need to work a 60, 70-hour week, and they've got a little bit of time, and then they just go absolutely incognito just to make a difference to a few people that they don't even know. I think it's really nice.
Well,
that's being a celebrity in the best sense possible.
Yeah, he's definitely not a pretender.
Yeah, and it's if you want to model good behavior, which I'm really pro on, like going and doing something and not trying to bask in it, like so many people, celebrities, they go for the 2 minutes of fame. This is a pretty cool story, and I think it's something pretty selfless of them to go out and do. I mean, anyways, super cool. Happy news.
He spent a couple days doing this. It's not that big a deal for a guy, but it made a big difference to some people that, can use the help. And so, hats off to him.
I agree. That concludes Mashup number 4-5. So 4-5. If you're twos, have you put anything in on the Clunker Dunker yet?
Yeah.
What date did you pick?
April 11th, 1730.
Hey, Dust, explain this to me. How is it
Okay,
going to...
it means 5:30 p.m.
When does it... How close are we getting here with this sensor? You know? Like, I'm going to mute too.
So there is a sensor mounted to the clunker. And as soon as that sensor hits water, there's a text message coming to my phone, and that will be the winning time. All the times are in 10-minute slots, so whoever picks the winning slot wins the half the money.
I'm going to pick.
What if it's?
Can I see when two's picked? Can I see like the exact time? Does it show people?
I just told you.
What did you say? April what?
April 11th at 17:30, which means 5:30 p.m.
I'm going to buy the 2 slots on both sides of them. How's that? That's
So
be perfect.
If you actually go on klunkerdunker.com, the website, there is a tab that shows calendar, and you can see everybody who picked and what times they picked. So
I'm going to totally buy both sides of you.
Wait, it shows my name on there?
Oh yeah.
No. No.
You just said the exact time and everything.
Two's just outed himself. That's too bad. You know?
No,
can't even do anything about it. Two's is live, and here we are. Hey? Well,
you
whoops.
sons of bitches just trapped me.
Well, whoops. Hey, folks. That'll do it for Mashup 45, where Two's got more than he bargained for, and I look forward to just drinking it all in. This is going to be...
You're never coming on this show again, Dust.
Any final thoughts before we hop off?
No, that was it.
I think that was it. I think that's a great way.
$5,000 and both these assholes go in the water on the 25th, guys.
And I think I found my winner. I don't even know if I need the listeners. Listeners, what do you think? I kind of like it. Hey, that's me. You know, let me know. Shoot me a text.
All right,
We'll catch you next week. 46 coming up, hot and heavy. And until then.
All right, we'll see you guys later.